out these things at the end of the presentation. It's going to be me and one of the speakers. So let me tell you why I'm here. The reality is I'm not sure why I'm here. Because I can do a presentation that lasts anywhere for 30 seconds to 29 minutes and 30 seconds. In other words, I can use as little or as much as this presentation based on you guys. Does that make sense? And here's why. I don't have an agenda. I don't have anything to sell. I'm here for one reason. I'm here for you. So the thing is that, like Mike said, this is a dialogue. This is a dialogue between me and you. So we have the equivalent of a mastermind here in this room. We have a lot of education. We have a lot of experience in different types of businesses. But right now, I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're here. And I don't know what industry you specifically specialize in. So I'd like to get a handle on that if you would. And for those people in the back of the room, my eyesight really sucks. I would love for you guys to come close to the front of the room, because here's the thing. If you want to be part of this little mastermind, get your asses up front of the room. If you want to sit in the back and stay where you are, then stay where you are. It's totally your decision. So here's the thing. How many people here in this room right now are involved in brick and mortar retail business? Show of hands, please. Okay, so that's a good percentage of the room, probably about 50%. How many people here in the room are involved in the manufacturing of e-liquids or some type of an e-juice? Okay, pretty good percentage. All right, so that covered right there probably 80% of the room. So who here is involved in something that doesn't fall into either one of those two categories? Show of hands, please. All right, so Lou, I know what you do. These three in the front, what is it you do? To stand up and say?
Credit card processing.
Credit card processing for the vaping industry? Awesome. Everyone needs to talk to her. Who else? Yes, sir. What do you do?
We are e-liquid manufacturers. No, sorry, not e-liquid manufacturers. Sorry, I'm a little bit. We manufacture the hardware, so like, for example, disposables, electronic cigarettes.
Okay, so you're in the hardware end.
Yeah, we're in the hardware end.
Awesome. I didn't address that. Anyone here in hardware besides him? Okay. Oh, did I see a hand in the back? What company? You.
Carbon Method.
Huh?
Carbon Method.
Carbon Method. Awesome. So who else is here in this room that doesn't fall into hardware, the credit card processing, liquid? Yes, ma'am.
We manufacture nicotine.
Manufacture nicotine. That's Nick Select over there. Great company. Anyone else here that's in the room who doesn't fall into any one of those categories? Yes, sir.
We put on trade shows for the vapor industry.
That'll never fly. No one will ever come to these things.
Next year.
Next year. So I happen to have known Richard. Richard is putting together a series of 6 very, very high-end B2B workshops next year. So I want you to make sure you talk to him, because this whole event creation thing is going through a maturation process, just as the industry is going through a maturation process. So I stumbled into this industry about 1.5 years ago, and like Mike said, a friend of his said, you know, I want you to help me with a vape store. And he said, what the hell is a vape store? And I said the exact same thing. Last year in 2013, I live in Newport Beach, California, and I write for the local newspaper on businesses, and I happened to wander past the store, and it said, Newport Beach Vape Shop. And I literally did a double take, and I walked in, I said, what the hell is a vape shop? Because I never heard of it, I didn't smoke, I didn't know what it was all about. And the guy says, well, what we do is that we sell this liquid, and we sell these little pieces of hardware that help people gradually stop smoking by dialing down their nicotine. I said, dude, that is just awesome. I said, I've never been a smoker, but my mom was, and I've known a lot of smokers. And so anything that helps people get off of tobacco, which is the most dangerous, innocuous habit, most expensive addiction of anything combined in the United States, is a good thing. So one thing led to another, and I realized as I started to do my research, there was not a lot of information out there. You guys finding that same thing? One of the first questions I asked was, how many of these shops are there? Are there hundreds? Are there thousands? Are tens of thousands? And that's a question that repeatedly is asked, you know, since then. And since then, I've developed relationships there within directories to find out about how many shops there are. And I've actually come up with 7 different categories of vape shops. Because when you say how many vape shops are there in the United States, it could be anywhere from 5,000 to 30,000. You've heard those numbers, right? So the question is what is a vape shop? Well, one is it could be a regular brick and mortar vape shop that sells to the public at large, and that's probably the most dominant right now. You also have smoke shops. How many here are involved in smoke shops? Anyone? Okay. It's a little bit of a disconnect between smoking pot Not that, of course, they condone that, of course, but some smoke shops sell different things like that and paraphernalia, and you have head shops too. So basically you have regular vape stores, you have head shops, you have smoke shops, and then of course you have the ones that kind of fall in between. Regular retail businesses that are adding some type of vaping accessory to their line. Why? Because there's money in it. Because there's money in it. So they're selling their hardware, they're selling their juice, and so they're just kind of throwing it in there as a sideline. Then you have your C stores, your 7-Elevens, your AM/PMs, your Circle Ks. These guys are making a huge, huge inroad into this industry. You get that, right? You know, initially they didn't really necessarily want to be involved with this industry, but what's happening is that they are losing business to combustible cigarettes. So it's either time to get on board or time to realize that you're going to start losing money. So the C stores are making huge, huge inroads. You're going to see more and more C stores carrying the main store, the main lines, the blues, the views. I was at a Circle K about a week and a half ago, and I walked into this big kiosk there with Views, and you know, Views right now is crushing it. They're actually beating Blue, which has been the #1 for a long, long time, but that's only because they were discounting the prices. And then, of course, you have your retail stores, which would be like your Rexalls, your Walgreens, your Walmarts. These are like your regular drug stores that aren't necessarily grocery stores. These are really stores that you kind of walk into to get whatever you need, and then you leave. And then you have your grocery stores. You know, your regular Ralph's, Albertsons, Fry's, wherever part of the country you're in, you have your regular grocery stores. These are stores where people go into looking for food, and while they're there, oh, by the way, I might as well get some e-cigs while I'm here. And then, of course, the last category is your mass marketers, your Costco's, your Walmarts, basically your big type of warehouse type of stores that are putting out huge, huge, huge amount of volume, but they have absolutely nothing to do with customer service. There's no education. So really, when it's all said and done, the only place that people are getting educated is by you all who are here in this room who have brick and mortar stores. So I applaud you all for that. So give yourself a round of applause, because you are educating the consumers, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And one of the biggest problems we have is the media, which is kind of ironic because I'm a member of the media, because I write for Vape News Magazine, and I have the radio show, and I write for Tobacco International, and I blog for other people as well. But there's a lot of media people out there who love creating hysteria. You know, there was a heading in the paper a few days ago where it said, young boy, what did it say? Basically alluded to the fact that this guy's young kid's foot was blown off by an electronic cigarette battery. Well, they couldn't just say young boy injured. They had to basically blow out of proportion by saying or indicating that his foot was blown off. And I'm sure it wasn't blown off. I'm sure it had some damage. But the truth is, the batteries are dangerous. They will combust. They have combusted, and they will combust in the future. So that's me, but it's not about me. It's about you. So I want to find out from you all in the audience, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing right now that you would like to find a solution to while you're here this weekend? Because here's the thing. I do not claim to be a master of all trades. I'm a really, really good teacher, but I'm also an awesome student. So I learn a lot from you. I learn a lot from my clients. I've helped people open up brick and mortar stores all over the country, start e-liquid companies, bring import products in the United States. So I have a really, really good 30,000-foot view. But I am not an expert on the thing that a lot of you guys here in this room are experts on. So what I would love to do is find out who here has a challenge, who is bold enough and brave enough to stand up and say, here's what I would like to get. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's the challenge. I'm going to try to answer it. Possibly I can. Possibly I can't. But if I can't, hopefully one of you here in this room. You guys want to play? You guys want to play? If you don't want to play, I'll call it over, guys, and I'll bring on the next speaker. Because here's the thing. It's really about finding out the challenges that you have and finding a cure. Do you have a challenge?
Well, a little different.
Stand up and come to the front, please.
Okay.
And introduce yourself.
Okay.
What's your name?
Bill Pizzuti.
Bill?
Bill
Glad to meet
Pizzuti.
you.
So,
what's your problem?
well, I don't have a problem yet. I want
Good.
to know what problems they've had to save us the trouble of running into them.
All right, so what are the challenges that you face?
Alicia St. Martin, who will be the supervisor of a new retail store, brick and mortar.
Okay.
Our first business endeavor, and Dan Martin, who will help with operations and
Okay.
staffing it. So the new store name is Vape-salutely. And
Vape-salutely. You guys like that name?
Yes.
Okay, Vape-salutely. Good.
Good.
Where you at?
Thank you. In Rhode Island, North Kingstown, Rhode Island.
Wow.
in a big food market, Super Stop and Shop Plaza,
Okay.
next to Verizon Mobile. There's a Starbucks in the plaza. There's an equestrian shop. There's a mattress shop. But we figured all walks of life, right, come to that plaza. It's a busy plaza.
Okay.
So you get people in Verizon, people need to eat, all different types. Should be good traffic for our new shop. But we're just starting the remodeling. We need a few weeks, and then we hope to open the doors in about a month.
All right, so what's unique
Maybe
about
beat
your
that
shop?
target. So,
What's unique about your shop?
well, we don't know yet.
Ah,
Most of the shops that we have right now, there are a few, but most of them are
Come up, make her come up.
head shops.
okay, so you're competing with head shops.
Yeah.
They are not your competition.
Now they're popping up, so a few more are coming and they're having good juice, but not a lot. You can't really go in and you sit there and you sit like test them, like
Oh,
tasting bars.
Tasting bar.
That's our
That's
catch.
what we're aiming towards. We're more. It's just a head shop.
There's nothing like that.
A more upscale
Okay,
tasting
I get that.
bar.
All right, so let me pause for a second. And you guys, if you want to take notes or if you want to remember, if you want to record it, there's 3 steps that I always push in every business and every project. There's 3 steps in every project, and the very first step, which is the one that most people either bypass or overlook or don't spend enough time on, is you have to develop your business strategy. Far and away, that's first. 50% of your time before you ever engage in an operation has to be spent on developing your business strategy. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you different? Why are you better? Who's your competition? What are they doing really right? And what are they doing really wrong? 50% of your time developing your business strategy. The next step, about 30%, putting your systems and process together. Most people go to step 2 before they go to step 1. They start developing a website. They get business cards. They put all this stuff together before they ever know who the hell they are. They don't even understand their market. They don't even understand who their competition is. They don't even understand who they're selling it to. So those things all come together. I find so many clients, the first thing they do is they go out and form an LLC. Why? Why? You know, why spend that extra $500, $800, $1,200 to form a corporation before you even know whether you have a business that's going to make sense or ever get off the ground? So the second step after developing your strategy is putting together your systems and processes. So when I say what makes you unique, you better come back to me when I ask that question next time and say, here's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear that answer right now. I'm just saying that you need to be able to articulate that in a very short period of time. And then the third step is that's when you put together your client list and you maintain and gather your clients. And unfortunately, most people want to go directly to step number 3 before they ever spend any time on step number 2 and before they ever flush out step number 1. Does that all make sense? So again, the first thing you do before you entertain any type of business, any type of business model, and I'll guarantee you one thing about this industry right now. If you think that you can sit on your ass and do exactly what you're doing right now for the next 2 years, it is not going to happen. Understand me? It is not going to happen. There's all kinds of influences that are outside our control that are going to start infringing upon us. So you are going to have to make adjustments between now and forever. And there's going to be adjustments coming in from, as Joe mentioned, local city councils, the states, the Fed, your competition, big tobacco, medium tobacco. You know, there's all kinds of things that want your candy. And so you always have to need to make sure that you are always readjusting your business strategy. You know, I've been involved with this industry, you know, for about 1.5 years, but I've been what I call a highly unemployable entrepreneur for the last 40 years. So I have found that at one time you could do a business plan and have it last for probably 5 years. Then it got increasingly shorter, maybe 3 years. Well, you know, most businesses who are around prior to 2008, I tell them that they can burn that rule book because it no longer has any validity. And this industry is not necessarily in need of reinvention because everything is being invented from the fly. So guaranteed, your industry is going to be going through a lot of changes in the years to come. So you absolutely need to reevaluate your business model without exception every calendar quarter to every 6 months. So every 6 months you sit down with your team, and if you don't have a team, get a team and find out what's working, find out what's not working, what you can do differently, what you can do better, what your competition is doing that's really a threat to you, do a SWOT analysis, and what your competition is doing that sucks, that you're going to blow them out of the water. Does that all make sense to you guys? All right, so...
You're like the Energizer Bunny.
Okay. All right, so give me a specific...
Any challenges that they faced in starting up a new vape shop that we could learn from and avoid?
All right, who would like, now there we are. Who would like to volunteer, hang on, Austin. Who here started a vape store from scratch, brick and mortar, and who's been operational for at least 1 year and is doing really well? You gentlemen in the blue hat, come to the front. That doesn't work. What's your name?
William.
William, pleasure.
Pleasure. Likewise.
Meet this gentleman here. All right. So tell him one thing that he absolutely should not do, either prior to or upon opening his vape store, and one thing he absolutely must do prior to or after opening his vape store.
Our most difficult challenge, and I have 4 retail brick and mortar stores, the most difficult challenge for us has been staffing, okay? Unless you and your counterparts, your associates want to stay there every day, all day, which you're going to have to in the beginning, that's a given. Eventually, if you plan on expanding, which is some of the questions I was going to ask you here in a second, but if you plan on expanding, obviously you're not going to be able to be there to handle the customers. And when the customers come in, especially with the questions, whether it's regarding the equipment, whether it's regarding the liquids, whether it's regarding legislation, whatever it is, if you don't have properly trained staff that are professional enough to address these questions, then what's going to happen is your customer base is going to start to fall out on you.
All right, how many people here agree with that? How many people think he's full of crap? Nobody. Nobody thinks he's full of crap, because absolutely customer service is a lost art in general, and it's a very, very lost art in this industry. Because here's the thing, and no offense to any of you millennials, because the millennials are the age group that I understand very well. I wrote a book on you. You know, roughly between age 20 and 32, they aren't necessarily people. You get that? They're text people. They're online people. They're Skype people. They aren't people. They have a hard time dealing with people face to face. So they don't understand that interaction that needs to be created. And make sure you understand this, guys. The vaping industry is very, very personal. It's very personal. You have people coming in pleading for their lives. Please help me stop smoking after 4 decades. You have people coming in saying, hey, help me be socially cool because I want to vape along with my friends. Whatever their reason, whatever their motivation, you need to help them get to that point. So the point that William makes is absolutely critical. Customer service, you must find, one, the adequate trained staff. And that doesn't necessarily mean a technician who knows how to tear shit apart and put it back together with their eyes closed. Those skills can be taught. What can't be taught is attitude and personality. So those are the traits that you guys want to look for when you staff up. You want to find people who are people who understand how to engage in a conversation with every age group, whether it be the young people or the baby boomers like myself.
You said form a team.
Form a team, 100%.
So until we know what staffing we'll need, and based upon what William said, I had the idea, geez, should we have a temp service to beef up staffing when we initially open the doors and then adjust later on? But based upon what you said, we need some more skilled
I don't recommend that at
customer
all.
service types.
Absolutely, I don't recommend.
What do you recommend?
Well, I definitely don't recommend just hiring randomly. I don't recommend the Craigslist. I don't recommend temp services or anything like that, depending on what direction you want to take your company. My partner and I, who just finally joined the conversation, hey Aiden.
Hey, Aiden, welcome.
My partner and I, we came into this industry knowing that our goal was not a mom and pop shop. Our goal was to come into this industry and have a significant to large impact. And to do that, we knew expansion was our direction from the get-go. As we embarked upon our journey and we started our first vape shop, me and this guy sat in one store with 2 cases that were scantily stocked, and no uniforms, just fresh out of the bag here. But as we grew, we realized that to expand and utilize our creative energies, we had to become free. Our time was very valuable, and if we're constantly married to customer relations all day long, our ability to expand became very limited. So
excellent.
We had to bring in and import quality resources, not just individuals we hired off of Craigslist. What we started doing was, as soon as we opened the doors, our customers would come in and unbeknownst to their own knowledge, we were interviewing these people from the get-go.
All right, so I'm going to interject only in the interest of time. How's my time, guys? 20 minutes. Okay, cool. All right, so here's the thing. What he's referring to is scalability. And if you aren't familiar with that term, scalability, that is how do you make your business grow, preferably without you. You know, you want to develop a business that has some type of an exit strategy down the road, whether it be selling to a competitor or selling it off to your employees or whatever the case might be. How do you grow? How do you scale without you being physically present all the time? So basically you've given him some advice on what he should do, which is find right people, make sure they're staffed properly. What should he not do besides hire a temp service, by the way? Don't do that.
Once again, I would think depending on the direction you want to take your company, if this is your only store and you know it's your only store, obviously you would subscribe to a different strategy. Our strategy was to grow beyond that store, so immediately we spent our time and energy developing infrastructure to support a larger organization. A lot of people that we've experienced personally that come into the brick and mortar portion of this industry and they get started, they open a shop, they open a couple shops, and it's still manageable between them and their wife, them and their partner. But when they want to branch off into that third and fourth shop, they don't have a corporate structure. They don't have an infrastructure that's going to support the distributions of their own products, the staffing, the payrolls, everything that's involved, from insurance to you name it. There's 1,000,001 variables. But if you're wanting to expand into a larger organization, then I would suggest that you guys constantly put forth efforts into the development of an infrastructure.
Awesome.
Strong infrastructure.
William, thank you. Let's give William a round of applause. Thank you. All right, so here's a guy that I don't know what type of background he had prior to, but he obviously has learned how to put together an organization. And the thing is if you just want to do something based on passion and something you want to do for fun, and if you want it to be a traditional quote-unquote ma-and-pa organization, it's a place to socialize, you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of room out there for people who want that. But so many people I talk to, I help them develop the first store, and right away they want to, start developing their second and third. I said, find a model, build a model, let it become successful. I have certain benchmarks because everyone wants to know how much money can you make in this industry. And most of the stuff that people throw at you, you can probably build a 30% bullshit factor in because they're all going to exaggerate. But I know from experience, because I've helped these businesses start from day one, from the ground up, and I know how much a store should make the first month, the second month, the third month, and between month 3 and month 6, they should be hitting a certain benchmark, which I deem to be, quote unquote, the success mark. And that's when you're hitting that mark, you're absolutely ready to start expanding into number 2 and number 3. And so far, I'm seeing a pullback of stores. I would say for every 4 to 5 that's opening, 1 is closing. You're starting to see about a 20%, 15 to 25% failure rate. I've seen a lot of businesses, especially in Southern California, which is kind of like ground zero, where all this started, where so many of these businesses got full of themselves, and ego will kill more businesses than any bad economy. You guys get that? So many businesses are full of their own ego, their own self-gratification, their own self-justification. I see an awful lot of heads nod. Hopefully you're nodding at someone else and not yourselves, right? So ego will kill more businesses, so you have to be willing to realize that you can grow too fast, and if you don't do it with a structured organization, eventually you're going to start backtracking. So I've seen 2 different organizations that grew from 1 to 5 in one case to 6 in another. One of them's down to 1 and one of them's down to 0. So basically they came out of the chute, everything went well, and even a stop clock is right twice a day. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and in 2009, 10, 11, 12, you almost couldn't fail. You guys get that? But the days of opening up your shop and pulling in a 6-figure income per month by the 2nd or 3rd month, that's highly, highly, highly unlikely in today's marketplace. 2 years ago, more likely. A year ago, possible. Now, is it likely? I'm going to say probably not, but doesn't mean you can't develop your store into a 6-figure monthly revenue generator. But again, it has to be done in the right place, the right time. I have certain benchmarks as far as how many stores per population I think that any particular population should sustain. So, Austin, you had a question or a comment that you wanted to share earlier, and I put you on hold. What is it, sir?
Comment for the new store.
Comment for the new store.
I just think that make sure that when you're looking for juice lines and mods and those type of things, it's very important to go on the blogs. It's very important that you go on and find out what social media people are looking for. Because what I find too many store owners say, well, I don't really like that. And It doesn't really matter if 20,000 people on Instagram like it or Facebook. It's probably a popular line and you need to bring it in. If I based everything on all the flavors I'd like, I'd have 3 flavors in my shop, and that's it.
Very nice.
So make sure that you're doing what the consumers want.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. Don't sell what you have. Sell what?
They want.
Thank you. Sell people what they want. And how do you find out what people want? You ask them. Absolutely, you ask them. You know, if you basically do surveys. This is before you ever open your doors. Before you ever open your doors, do your research with your competition. Find out what's selling, what's not selling. Find out what the price points are. You know, a lot of people think that they have to sell for X number of dollars because that's my keystone for 2 or 3 or 4 times markup. You can't work it that way. This is an industry that's, you know, you have a very small room for margin about what you can price it at and what you can't price it at. So you have to be very, very conscientious of that. So we got room for one more person here who has a challenge that they would love to get some type of an answer to while we have this wonderful intellect here in this room. Anyone bold enough to step forward? Gentlemen in the red shirt, come on forward. And by the way, thank you for playing. Again, you know, I could come up here and just drone about me, but it's not what I'm all about. It's really about you and trying to find solutions for you. So I hope you guys are okay with that. What's your name?
My name is Steve.
Steve, Norm, pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
What's your problem? What's your challenge?
So our company has been taking a hold in sitting in on Senate hearings and things of that nature in regards to state legislation.
Good for you.
And what the question is what's the best way? Like right now in New Mexico, we're fighting. They want to take away flavors. So we make a lot of point references and bring in doctors and things like that. But the question is when we're battling, what do we really need to target to be successful?
All right. That's an interesting, multifaceted, multi-tiered question. Does anyone besides Lou or Joe have a comment to that? Because I'm sure that they do. But anyone here from the masses have any? All right, so go ahead and repeat the question to my shoulder.
So as we're battling or sitting in on Senate hearings and bringing community support to these hearings to try to prevent certain legislations or support certain legislations in regards to this industry, what are the points to attack so that we can actually win this argument?
All right, so here's the dilemma. Politics is, for the most part, an unwinnable battle, but a winnable war. There's going to be a lot of small battles that are going to take place that we're going to lose, but I think the end result is we will end up winning the war. That's a question that's hard to answer in this arena. I mean, Joe could probably come up and give you some advice, and I suggest that you talk to him offline and talk to the gentleman who's going to be coming up in a moment, because that's Lou, and you know, he has been involved with FDA hearings and knows how to, you know, kind of work through that political landscape. But
well, as we're sitting through these, what we're finding is that congressional leadership will invite for the sake of saving face.
Yeah.
People to come in and give their opinions and testimonies and this and that, but in the end it's really just a bash where legislation is really just looking for how much money can they make off of this, or what can they cut out, or how is it going to affect their election.
Yeah.
But what we need to try to figure out is how we can help bring the people to influence what our real Bill of Rights will be in the vapor community.
It's a great question. I have to admit that I'm a little bit stymied. Lou, in the interest of time, I'd like you guys to talk offline. How are we doing on time? Just a few?
2 minutes.
All right. So I need to wrap this up, but thank you for your question. And again, give him a round of applause for that. So here's my personal Norm Bour's perspective of this war. It's hard to fight logic with emotion. It's hard to fight emotion with logic. So you have to fight logic with logic and emotion with emotion. And what we have is that we have a lot of illogical people in leadership roles who basically think that they're in a liability position. So they're trying to basically protect themselves from liability, especially local city councils. Local city councils are following, quote unquote, the big boys, the LAs, the Bostons, the Chicagos, and because they outlaw outdoor vaping, outdoor vamping, by the way, is still approved, so it's okay. They basically think that the small cities have to follow the big cities because they figure if the big cities are doing it, then it must be, quote unquote, the right thing to do. When really it's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's a follow the leader. It's a very follow the bad leader, unfortunately. So my particular opinion is that the movement of the people is what's going to prevail in this industry. You know people. who have quit smoking. You know people who have quit smoking. You know people who maybe have now removed or certainly reduced their liability or their exposure to possible carcinogens because they are smoking, you know, a lot less combustible cigarettes. So the bottom line is that people who don't smoke, people who don't vape, people who for the most part don't care about this industry will start paying attention. Once we're now getting to the point of where there's going to be more positive press coming in, as more and more people are doing it, as more and more people are feeling healthy about it. So the movement of the people is eventually what's going to prevail. So that's kind of what my 2 cents is. So, you know, the quote-unquote name of my presentation was going to be how to start, how to grow, how to brand, how to maximize your vaping industry. And again, because I really didn't know what the makeup was of this audience, I really didn't know exactly where to start. The gentleman in the black shirt had a comment, and I'm going to let you get away with that.
Yeah, it's just real quick, to help out a little bit. Some things that I've seen that helps when you're talking to city council people and state representatives and stuff, it has to be give and take. You can't just say, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, especially when it comes to flavoring. For example, when they say, well, your targeting children because you have bubblegum flavor or whatever. If you do a give and take and say, you know, we support an 18 or older, you know, limit, because for example, Arizona doesn't have a law on that, some states do. If you promote that, saying we're all in favor of 18 and older, you find the crap out of us if we sell underneath that. But flavors are what get people off cigarettes. I mean, you know, obviously everyone in this room likes ice cream that has flavor in it. Vanilla. I mean, everyone loves flavors. Adults love flavors. I mean, otherwise everyone would be eating lamb slop. So you just kind of, you have to kind of make that argument, but then also tell them it has nothing to do with the children. We're against that. We're for favor of 18 and older. It's a give and take. That way they can save themselves from the public by saying.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. It absolutely is. I mean, everything is a negotiation process, especially when it comes to politics. So listen, I thank you so much for listening to me. I'm going to kind of put my other hat back on as the MC of this particular crowd. And we have John with AgriVape. Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
All right, John, why don't you come to the front? I'm going to give you my microphone from this very kind gentleman.